Guys, Destiny 2's first major update is upon us. Ash and Iron officially arrives tomorrow, and it's the free update following the Edge of Fate expansion. It's bringing a lot of changes, some of which I know we have forgotten. So today we're going to be listing out the top 10 updates that are about to shake up Destiny 2. Let me just say, some of these are good, some of these are terrible. Yes, Temporal Blast is getting a nerf. With that being said though, let's dive in. Change number 1, we're going to the Plaguelands. Now, I know it's kind of a weird thing to call it the Plaguelands, since yes, this doesn't really look that plaguey. No Siva. We already got to see a trailer of this, and we knew we were going to be going back to Plaguelands because it was revealed to us way back when Edge of Fate was first shown, which yes, did hype up some people. There's a lot of folks in here that are probably fans of things like Rise of Iron. That was the third and final expansion of Destiny 1, with the Plaguelands being a big centerpiece of that. Now, Bungie's also hyped up the new activity in Ash and Iron called Reclaim. Not really sure what this is going to entail, but Bungie claims it's an activity type we have never seen before in Destiny. It's quite strange because when looking at it, kind of looks like any other public event we've ever had. But we will be dealing with Cabal, we've fallen under the control of Maya, the conductor, and based on the trailer, it looks like we're going to be in different locations in the Plaguelands that will be either attacking or defending. Now, you can hear Shaxx at the beginning of the trailer say, to the next assault point, as the fire team boards their ships, and I'm assuming this will teleport us to the next area. Ad density looks pretty decent, but I'm curious to see if the mechanics are going to be any fun. There's even a moment in the trailer where you can literally jump into a brig and pilot it, which makes sense considering we have the game mode Heavy Metal, which involves brigs versus tanks. Now, a lot of people have already spoken up and said that the Plaguelands looks empty, which makes sense. There's no Siva like we had back in Destiny 1, which was really the thing that spiced up this area. And for all the folks that were saying, Cross, we're going to get a Siva subclass. Cope! Pete Parsons killed it just before he resigned. With that in mind, though, I do want all of us to just temper our expectations. There will be a live stream from Bungie. We will be watching it live over on our Twitch channel. The reason why I want us to temper our expectations is because we went back and we checked, and there was no mention of the word destination used to describe the Plaguelands. Not in the roadmap, not in the Edge of Fate revealed live stream. So most likely, this will only be accessible via the Reclaim activity, similar to the Dreadnought in Heresy. I will say I did enjoy the Dreadnought in Heresy. I enjoyed all the secrets. I'm hoping the Plaguelands is going to have that level of density, but we'll wait and see. Change number 2. We're getting a new exotic mission called Warsat Heist. This was also shown off in the trailer, and it looks like it's going to be taking place in some kind of war mine facility, similar to our Heist battlegrounds. Now, this will have an exotic tied to it. Now, whether or not it's the new rocket pulse or the heavy crossbow and axe, which by the way, we still don't even know if the axe is even an exotic or if that's just a relic we could pick up. I'm kind of leaning toward a heavy crossbow, but we'll see. One thing we did notice though from the trailer are several scions called Imperial Optus, and these scions work directly for Empress Kaido. And given these psionic shields our Guardians have in one shot of the trailer, we're most likely going to be working with these scions to infiltrate the facility similar to Psion Battlegrounds in Season of the Risen. We'll be fighting against the Vex and maybe Cabal controlled by Maya. Now, we've had a lot of content that's been kind of Warmind themed. Seraph Station, Saber, Spire of the Watcher. This may very well be within that same vein, but I am hoping it's going to separate itself a bit. Change number 3, we're getting new exotics. Now, normally exotics earned from dedicated missions are craftable, meaning they're going to have things like interchangeable catalysts along with intrinsics to buff the weapon stats themselves. And I will say our last couple ones have been very solid. Choir of One is an absolute monster, which dropped on us in Echoes. Barrow Dyad is another one that was also very good and still very good, which means this exotic mission should be bringing us an exotic that will also be craftable. Now, as we stated before, we know we're going to be getting 2 new exotics. One present in the kinetic slots, and the other will be present in the heavy slots per the latest swap. Now, we're currently speculating that the exotic mission is going to drop the kinetic slot Strand Rocket Assisted Pulse. This will fire rocket explosives that stick to targets and detonate with an alt fire mode. Now, it's pretty interesting that Bungie is giving us a Strand Rocket Assisted Pulse, considering they literally just gave us Mint. But hey, man, I'm here for it. I'm curious to know if the damage, though, is going to outperform Mint, because Mint has some fantastic rolls. Whatever the case, we have so much synergy with our artifact mods that this rocket assisted pulse is going to fit very nicely here. Now, as for our heavy, there is a lot of speculation going on. Lots of people want it to be the axe. I'm just here to say, guys, we've seen Bungie play this card before. They showed off the Scythe back in Season of the Haunted, and what ended up happening? That wasn't an exotic, it was a relic that you could pick up in activities. With that being said, though, DMG has been feeding into the speculation on Twitter, so I don't know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this. With that being said, though, we are going to be getting, at least based on the Destiny 2 roadmap, a reward pass refresh. So it's a good chance that maybe this exotic will be tied to that. Now, if you're concerned about getting all your rewards from the current pass before the new pass shows up, if you're not, this brings us to change number 4, Seasonal Archive. Old seasonal reward tracks are returning to Destiny. Now, we have made multiple videos in the past on things like the Season Pass extension, the Wayback extension. Essentially, these are extensions you can add to your browser that will allow you to go back and pull old gear and everything you have ever earned on a Season Pass in Destiny. However, Bungie is making the change where you'll be able to access all of this in-game. Even items you haven't purchased, from old armor to weapons to cosmetics and even catalysts, right from the tower at a new kiosk called the Monument to Seasons Pass. Now, unowned passes can be purchased for 600 silver, and items from each pass can be unlocked with a new currency called Chronologs, which is earned from the paid and free tracks of the current reward pass. So it appears you'll only be able to earn a limited amount of this currency per season, but the question is, how much? Now, if there's nothing in the pass that you need or you want, you can also spend your Chronologs in exchange for in-game materials. That includes currencies, bright Ingrams, and even exotic Ingrams. Overall, this should be a very positive change. Yes, it's another way for Bungie to get more silver, but at the same time, anything that allows us to access things within the game itself is always a win in my book. Which brings us to change number 5, exotic weapon and armor changes. In addition to our new exotics, Bungie is making changes to our existing exotic armors and our weapons to make them more viable in the new sandbox, but at the same time, they are absolutely obliterating, or at least in my eyes, obliterating certain elements. First up, Bungie is continuing to double down on our feature exotic lists. That's getting expanded going into Ash and Iron. I hate this list. I personally don't like being told what I can and can't use. And Avant-Garde is our modifier, and they're actually leaning into this further with the Touche modifier. Whatever the case, for the time being, Bungie is not moving away from this featured exotic list. In terms of exotic changes though, Might and Multitool is receiving a massive buff with increased stats, damage, and even getting explosive rounds. Sturm is getting a huge rework, but still keeping its original playstyle of swapping between weapons, with a big change here being that it can now be usable with Lucky Pants. It's gonna be beautiful. Hawkmoon will also be able to work with Lucky Pants. As you know, it does work with Lucky Pants, but that last shot, the Paracausal shot, never would proc with Lucky Pants, which completely killed the damage. Rolling Ovation, which is the raid exotic rocket launcher from Desert Perpetual, is receiving a slight buff to its usability, which many people are going to be considering in their damage rotations. That's pretty much the buffs. Now to the nerfs. These are the list of weapons that are going to be receiving a nerf in some way. Graviton Spike, Teraba, Lord of Wolves, Grand Overture, Queenbreaker, Outbreak Perfected, Barrow Dyad, Hierarchy of Needs, and Thunderlord. Pretty much anything that would have given you an edge during the Desert Perpetual raid, that's being dealt with. And they're doing this because of the epic Desert Perpetual raid, which will be coming in a few weeks. But hey, New Land Beyond can now stack up to 999. Now looking at our armor, Strongholds got hit with a huge nerf, which in my opinion was really uncalled for. Bungie, why you do this? You see me playing with this build, having fun, smiling? Is all you want is sadness? This is my Titan identity, and it's gone. Our Titans fret not. Our tanky identity is simply shifting to Hunters. That's right, Bungie is actually buffing Certarachne, granting Hunters even more healing on enemy kills with Woven Mail. Warlocks, Chromatic Fire is getting bigger kabloomies with kinetics and no more subclass synergy. Controverse Hold now applies Weaken as well. Change number 6. With our batch of new content, we're not only just getting new exotics, we're also getting new weapons and armor sets. Starting with our weapons. In our shared pool, meaning these can drop from all activities, we have Mina Mini Tool, Drain, and a new high-impact rocket launcher, Heliatus. We also have 2 new additions in Trials of Osiris, Burden of Guilt, which is returning fusion rifle, and Ever-Burning Glitz, a rapid-fire auto rifle. Ironbender, which I know you haven't seen Ironbender literally since the launch of Edge of Fate, is finally returning to us, and with it, Finite Impactor, which will now be a solar adaptive hand cannon. And then for our Pinnacle Ops playlists, we have 2 new weapons that are going to be joining the pool. Force Memorializer, this is a kinetic precision scout rifle, and Seraphine Haze, this is a stasis aggressive submachine gun. Now, Solo Ops and Fire Team Ops was also stated to be getting a new addition, but that it is currently redacted along with the Crucible Ops weapon, which is also redacted. So for those guys, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now moving on to our new armor and armor set bonuses, Solo Ops and Fire Team Ops are getting the Smoke Jumper Armor Suit. This comes with a 2-piece bonus called Ride Together, Die Together. What in the Fast and Furious? This buff states that when you pick up an orb of power, you gain a brief period of rapidly decaying damage reduction. And its 4-piece set is called Family. Nah, I'm kidding. It's called Too Old for This. Defeating a powerful combatant with a finisher grants you special ammo progress and replenishes a small amount of health. Seems alright. We're also going to be getting another 3 armor suits, one for Crucible Ops, one for Ironbender, and one for the Raid. But these are all redacted as well. Now, I don't know if they're also going to include the set bonuses that they currently have, or if they're going to be new armor set bonuses. We'll just have to wait and see. What I will say, at least for myself currently, Bungie, vault space, please. I need somewhere to put this. Change number 7. Guys, the Epic Raid is on its way, but we also have some raid changes. Now, originally, the Epic Raid, which is a variation of Desert Perpetual, but harder, was supposed to release on the 20th of September. It has now been moved back a week to the 27th. Now, we've speculated a number of reasons why this could be. Maybe it's because Borderlands is also going to be launching this week. Perhaps it's because Destiny Rising is going to be launching their contest version of their raid the week of the 20th. Whatever the case, they moved it back to the 27th. Now, it will be the same as the first raid race. There will be a contest mode, which will be active for 48 hours. And for those who do decide to tackle it, there will be a new quest associated with the Epic Raid that unlocks attunement for the raid vendor, along with the catalyst for Rolling Ovation. As for the World's First race itself, in order to enter the race, you need to have completed the Edge of Fate campaign. The fire team leader must have completed the regular version of Desert Perpetual, and you have to have a fire team of 6 players. Now, something that's a bit different here than the first race is the fact that our damage bonuses and damage resistance for our featured gear are going to be active this time around, along with having the ability to use temporal mods. Keep in mind, those before were actually banned. However, Not Swap will be active during the contest mode version of this raid, but it's going to be even more restrictive than in the past. Upon swapping exotic or legendary armor and weapon types, you will lose your super, your ability energy, and your special and heavy ammo. Additionally, any ammo or orbs on the ground will also be removed. So it's not like you can still swap and then pick up ammo. No, it's GG's to everything. You'll have to start from square one. So essentially, you can't be swapping loadouts. What you can probably do is just swap mods within your loadouts, but that's it. Now, to take this even further, Bungie is implementing streaming requirements for the first time ever for World First competitors. At least one member of your team must be streaming to either YouTube or Twitch with VODs on, meaning they want to actually see your completion. And to take this a step further, Bungie is demanding no one hide portions of their screen. And if you're looking to hide anything, they will provide overlays that you can use. But essentially, Bungie doesn't want a situation, which is what's been the situation in the past, where folks are literally watching people with black boxes all over the place, blocking out portions of their screens, and muted audio. Not exactly a good viewing experience. Now, outside of the Epic Raid, Bungie is also making some changes to the base raid itself. You can now earn extra rewards from clearing all encounters of the Desert Perpetual, so by defeating all 3 bosses before heading to the final boss, you get an extra piece. In addition to this, Bungie is introducing 2 weekly challenges. The first challenge gives an extra piece of loot from your first clear of an encounter each week in either version of the raid. Completing this challenge will unlock an additional one that provides bonus loot from just the Epic Raid. As for the loot from these challenges, these will have bonus seasonal power and drops at an upgraded tier, depending on the number of feats that is. Now, along with the addition of these challenges for more loot, Bungie is also making some improvements to the gear tiers of the loot in the raid overall. They're removing the requirement to complete the Combined Mastery Triumph to increase your gear drop tier. All Desert Perpetual gear will now drop at tier 2 in the standard version and tier 3 in the Epic Raid, no matter your current power. In addition, Bungie is adding a chance for all gear earned during a full clear to drop up to +2 from your base gear tier, with the ability to add feats to increase your chances, which essentially boils down to tier 5 raid gear, which is a big deal. I'd say one of the biggest reasons why no one's really doing Desert Perpetual is because you can't even get tier 5 gear right now. However, with these changes, I do believe people are going to be farming it. Hopefully, it's not too late. Now, change number 8. This one's going to be a chunky one, boys, and it really just revolves around a number of sandbox updates. Temporal Blast, our beloved mod that is no doubt the best volatile mod we could have ever asked for, is getting hit with a massive nerf. Now, we're going to be doing damage testing for this one, but essentially, Temporal Blast will no longer gain charge progress on splash damage, and its blast damage impulse is being reduced by 66%. And the worst part is that heavy weapons will get the hardest hit by this change, which is unfortunate because it was this mod that made the raid crossbows so good. So that's the big nerf. Bungie's also making a bunch of different changes to hipfire reticles. Essentially, what it boils down to is a number of weapons and exotics that you see here in front of you are all getting small bumps to their quality of life. And it's not that they're getting more damage, it's just simply you're going to get better visuals on when perks activate without it hopefully clouding up your field of view, with some pips even being outright removed just to clear it up even further, with its perk indicators just being present on the HUD. Again, we'll take a look at it, and hopefully this is an improvement for all these weapons. Now, deterministic recoil, which is something that Bungie really paraded for a long time, is also being removed, except for weapons like Vigilance Wing. There's going to be some people that are upset with this. As someone who has studied recoil for hours and hours across many weapons, I prefer to just deal with just one stat being recoil direction, which is exactly how we dealt with weapon recoil now since like forever. Deterministic recoil is a weird thing because it throws a hidden element that's very hard to quantify, whereas recoil direction made sense and it was something visually you can see, and you can adjust your recoil direction depending on barrel perks or mods to get to that desired recoil pattern. With that being said though, I wouldn't be surprised if everything goes haywire after this removal. Like, no lie, something's gonna break. One of you is gonna pick up a weapon this week and be like, dude, where the hell is this thing going? Every time I shoot it, it goes straight to the ceiling. Now, there's also some other changes coming. Aggressive SMGs like Immortal is getting a range buff. Stretch out hand cannons are receiving a buff inside of PvE, but a nerf inside of PvP. Lightweight shotguns are also getting a buff, and crossbow bolts should be easier to find, with the kill feed actually indicating that you got a kill with the crossbow instead of a normal bow. Many of our enhanced perks are receiving buffs. I'm not gonna read through all of these, but essentially, for the first time and literally ever, enhanced perks are actually gonna feel enhanced. It's not just gonna be +5 reload or +5 stability. It's gonna be something here that contributes and ties into the perk itself. Now, on the class identity side, this is where things get interesting. Bungie is doing some major buffs here for Warlocks. Warlock turrets will now count as grenades, which has major implications for any perks that require grenade kills or even things that scale from Warlock exotics. You gotta keep in mind, Warlock buddies are already pretty strong. Hellion, Arcso, hell, even Child of the Old Gods. The fact that this is gonna scale off a grenade is crazy. Now, empowering rifts are also getting a buff. It'll generate ability energy passively and bonus ammo progress for special and heavy on kills. But he really wants us to stop using healing rift. Titans, we got shafted, fellas. Essentially, we're gonna be able to do a few more stasis crystals, and we have a faster cooldown for Bastion. Hot damn, Bungie, don't go too crazy. Hunters will now get a weapon stats from On Your Mark. Final Blows now extends the Deadshot Super and refunds ammo, and Marksman Dodge will reload all weapons and pick up nearby ammo bricks, which is crazy. Gambler's Dodge is receiving a massive buff in energy gain when next to enemies, but is going to be hit hard with nerfs to energy returns inside of PvP and at lower stat values. Lightweight Throwing Knife has been reduced in its damage by 16%, which, let me just be clear, needed to happen. Bastards were getting way too many easy kills. You think throwing a knife makes you skillful? Try throwing a hammer. Now, keep in mind, this is just a brief overview of what to expect in the next sandbox. Most of these are slated to arrive, though, in an October update, but the Warlock Imp Rift change is confirmed to be launching with Ash and Iron. And for us, we're going to be pre-post testing everything. 1, to check Bungie, and 2, we got this epic raid to deal with, and we need to know what the meta is. Change number 9, Dungeon Lairs. Bungie is finally adding dungeons to the portal. Keep in mind, they're not full dungeons, they're dungeon lairs. These are going to be added to the Pinnacle Ops section of the portal. They're going to be encounters from 3 of our previous dungeons. We've got this Pit of Heresy encounter beneath the Necropolis, Duality, the Nightmare of Galaran, and Warlord's Ruin final encounter. Now, there's even going to be a new boon that you can equip as a modifier called Classic Collector, which allows legacy gear from those dungeons to drop alongside your portal rewards. Now, the thing that really stinks about this is that the legacy rewards that we get to drop from these encounters will lack seasonal power and gear tiers. As in, the loot you're going to be chasing is loot from the Pinnacle Ops playlist. Think things like Mint Retrograde. Now, Bungie is offering all of these dungeons for free between September the 9th and September the 23rd, even if you don't have a dungeon key, meaning that if you're a free-to-play player, you can get the full dungeon experience during that trial period. Granted, most of us already have these purchased. To be quite honest with you, I'm not exactly going after any of the old gear like maybe I would go get Indebted Kindness, but really nothing else. I think the only way I would ever farm any of this old gear is if I can get tiered versions of it. Now, after this time frame though, those full dungeons do get reverted back to needing a dungeon key, with the Lairs still being present in the game, but keep in mind, these are just the single encounters from those 3 dungeons. We're gonna see how the Lairs pans out. I will say some of these encounters are very fast. Like, even at hard difficulties, we're gonna be able to do these encounters so quick. So from a farming perspective, they could be substantially better than anything else in the Pinnacle Ops playlist. At the same time, it wounds me to not see this dungeon loot as tiered loot added to these dungeon Lairs. Which brings us to change number 10, Power Grind and Portal Rewards. This is arguably the biggest change Bungie is making, which essentially boils down to Bungie making everything substantially easier. Come September the 9th, several Fireteam Ops Sandbox activities will be getting an increase in the number of drops that they receive, with activity timers being rebalanced across the board. Now, the 3 that were listed directly from Bungie were the 2 strikes, Liminality and Inverted Spire, and Onslaught, Widow's Court. The other big change is that you'll now have the opportunity for a Prime Ingram to drop per portal activity completion reward, and the portal timer bonus will grant a 5% minimum score. The main takeaway for that, guys, is that if you look at the activity and it says, hey, 3 completion drops, in our current sandbox, only 1 of those can be a prime. You're never going to walk away with 2 primes or even 3 primes, despite it saying 3 completion drops. It'll always be 1, which I know makes no sense. Why would anyone do this? Wouldn't folks just farm the thing that just has 1 completion drop over and over? 1000%. That's exactly what we've been doing. Hence why everybody was in solo ops farming Caldera over and over. This change, though, hopefully will push us to those other activities, those lengthier activities at that chance for getting that 3 out of 3 prime drop, or in some cases 4 out of 4. Another big change is that our account's highest power will be used for our reward score. So no longer are you having to juggle your highest gear pieces and equip them before going in. Now, we also have an increased chance of earning prime Ingrams on activity completion in the Crucible, along with an increase to bonus focus drop rates from 25 to 66% in the Crucible, which should make it easier to earn that focus drop item. Now, along with these buffs to our rewards, we're also getting a big shakeup in the next update after 9.1.0. This is going to be update 9.1.0.1. Bungie is essentially going to be removing mods like Grappler, Hypercritical, Oscillation, and Match Game from the match-made portal experience. You'll still be able to select these when customizing your own run, but when selecting the match-made options, these will not randomly be equipped. Now, in addition to this change, we're also getting more consistent power rewards for those upper levels. Considering our cap is getting raised from 450 to 550, we would have been faced with the same RNG struggle from 500 to 550. However, after this update, earning an A or an A+ grade will net you +1 power on your activity completion reward. And keep in mind, the grind to 500 is going to feel like the grind to 400. I know a lot of people say that was terrible, but let me just say the grind from 400 to 450 was the RNG hell. Bungie stated that the climb from 400 to 500 will be naturally accelerated by the power cap increase to 550. TLDR, guys, everything should be a lot faster getting to that max cap. We talked about it the other day on the podcast, but essentially, instead of it taking 1,200 runs of Caldera, it should only take you somewhere around 200 to 300 runs if you account for primes. And I know you may be thinking, Cross, that sounds terrible. That's still 200 to 300 runs. Keep in mind, you don't have to do Caldera. Like, personally, I want to go do other things, and I'm probably going to do other things. I want to mess around in Fireteam Ops, and with us having multiple completion drops, potentially drop primes, or in the least multiple +1 pieces, that actually may be the way to go. Now, tier 5 loot will also be easier to earn in the portal. When at 450 power and up, earning a score of 1,250,000 or more will guarantee a tier 5 drop from your activity completion reward. Now, in order to confirm whether you are going to get a tier 5 or not, you'll be able to look at the reward score forecast and increase challenge modifiers until you see the score of 1.25 million or higher, along with seeing the tier 5 Ingram on the screen as well, giving you that visual indicator that you will in fact achieve that if you reach that score. Now, Bungie's balance or incentive for why you should level up higher is that the higher you go, you can actually earn tier 5s at progressively lower grades. For instance, at 500 power, you're only going to need a B+ rating for a tier 5 drop. Now, another way we're going to be pushing up those scores is the fact that we're finally going to be able to play Ultimate difficulty when Ashen Iron launches, which is the difficulty beyond Grandmaster. And this is available the moment we reach power 451. There's going to be 2 new player stakes that are only found on the Ultimate difficulty. One is Pressure Cooker, where you have to finish under the time limit, or you get kicked to orbit. The other modifier is called Extinction, and that says that all players are limited to a single life. There are no revives, which is pretty wild. Now, Bungie says that the score boost for these modifiers matches the challenge. I'm actually really curious to see how this all shakes out, because a tier 5 is still a tier 5, but I am curious to see how this challenge scales. Now, along the lines of reward tiers, we'll have the ability now to hit Platinum and Diamond tiers. These ranks run from 450 to 499 power for Platinum and 500 to 550 for Diamond. Now, while in Platinum and Diamond tiers, you can earn an A+ grade in PvE, and an A+ score qualifies you for tier 5 piece of gear until hitting Platinum 3, where after that point, just an A grade will start giving tier 5. Now, after getting into Diamond though, a B+ qualifies you for tier 5, and at Platinum 3, even a B will get you a tier 5. Now, all of this combined with the additional activities being added to the portal this update should make the experience of grinding power in the newest update much more enjoyable, or at least bearable. So that's it, guys. Those are the 10 big changes. There's a number of other miscellaneous changes that we'll probably be covering when the patch notes drop live on us tomorrow. What I will say, if you're on the fence about Ashen Iron, or even just Destiny in general, feel free to come by the stream. We'll be watching both the Ashen Iron reveal and the Renegades reveal. That's right, Bungie is going to be showing Renegades. This is their Star Wars expansion that's coming in December. Hopefully, they'll talk about vault space, but we'll see. In the meantime, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. Are you excited for these changes? Is there anything here that's standing out to you? Would love to know your thoughts. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.